how we ask people is important. Are we clarifying what we want bulb to mean? Or is everybody interpreting it in their own saying and just giving an answer? Right? We don't always know. Those are things we have to think about. There isn't a perfect answer. There's never going to be a perfect answer, but those are just factors at play. Okay? Fallacy is another term that we need to think about. Fallacy is an error in reasoning usually based on a mistake. Oh, that was all spelled wrong. Can I say it? I don't know. Usually it's because we assume something that we shouldn't. Again, not always on purpose. Sometimes our brains just fill in holes that aren't there, and we just go along with it. Now, the two other big key terms were from your video notes yesterday. Causation versus correlation. What was a causation? A direct cause and effect. What's correlation?
They both could change.
There's more answers to
They have some type of relationship. Okay, we don't necessarily know why. There's something maybe going on there, but one doesn't have to cause the other. Okay, so for example, let's just say you're on social media. Okay, you're scrolling through something, and you see this fact, which is in fact true. I'm telling you a true statement. Okay? 80% of couples who go on a first date to a sushi restaurant end up having a second date. Okay, I'm telling you a factual statement. Data was collected. It says 80% of couples who go on a first date to a sushi restaurant end up having a second date. You're all looking at me weird. Why are you looking at me weird?
Let's see what dating and sushi has to do.
Okay, so whenever we hear data, now I'm throwing something at you in particular that's gonna make you start to think. I'm trying to give you one on purpose that makes you go, huh? What do sushi and dating have to do with each other? Okay, but the reality is whenever we hear data, we should start thinking that. What's really going on with this? What's really happening? So let's start talking through our options here. Now, I pulled this data using pre-existing data. But if we had to guess, how do we think this information was collected?
It takes couples who go to...
Do you think it was observational? Do you think it was an experiment? Do you think it was a survey? Survey. Okay, so we probably got a sample of people. What happens if we only asked 5 couples?
We're going to get a really small sample size. Data's going to be skewed.
So that data's not going to be super helpful, okay? But I'm going to tell you that we asked 5,000 people. Okay, so do we feel like that's helpful if we know we asked 5,000 people? That's going to be important. Okay, so our sample's a good sample. Okay, another thing that we might want to ask ourselves is, okay, is it a good sample? What types of people did they ask? I'm going to tell you, it's a good sample. We know it's a good sample. We should definitely be questioning it, but I'm going to tell you it's a good sample. And while there's always bias in a survey, I'm going to say the question was asked pretty clearly, so there's not too much we have to worry about there. So 80% of people who go to a sushi restaurant on a first date end up having a second date. That's still kind of curious. We're not seeing anything there. What else could be happening here? Well, let's talk. Hi, Edgar. Welcome to my class. I'm Mrs. McKinney. I like sushi. Hi, Trey. Welcome to class. I like sushi. Why are you like, what are you doing, Mrs. McKinney?
You socialize?
You're weird. That's definitely not even getting you a first date at all, right? That's going nowhere good. That's not normal. People don't talk like that. Okay, so if you're going on a first date with somebody and you don't know a whole lot about them, what's going to be a safe bet of a restaurant to go to?
Not sushi.
Okay, my students can usually agree on that. Not sushi. Why not?
Sushi is, if you don't like fish or raw fish, then like that's kind of all sushi.
Yeah, sushi is a pretty polarizing restaurant. Ava, what do you think might be more safe? Oh, did you have another statement you were going to say?
Well, I was gonna say, like, some people have, like, allergies, like shellfish.
Oh, yeah, definitely a bad idea. Don't want to kill the person on the first date or send them to the ER, right? So what might be a safe bet? What's a place that we might pick as safe?
Like burgers or pizza.
Okay, right, someplace that it's a more general. So maybe like a Texas Roadhouse. You can get a burger, you can get pasta, you can get a salad. Kind of something for everyone, right? Sushi? Not for everyone. Okay, so what are you gonna have to know about someone to be willing to go on a first date at a sushi restaurant?
No, I like sushi.
You're gonna have to know they like sushi. And do people walk up to you and say, oh, hi Trey, I'm Erin McKinney, nice to meet you, I like sushi. Does that happen? What usually happens before you know someone likes sushi? You have talked with them about other things. What types of things do you like? So maybe the statement is really saying that people who know more about each other are 80% chance of having a second date. Does that make way more sense? What did sushi have to do with it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Right? There's a correlation there. There's some relationship between going to sushi and getting a second date, but what's really happening is how well we know someone. Okay, so here's some other data. Research was published, this has now been several years ago, about a medical treatment for ovarian cancer, and saying that this medical treatment would work for ovarian cancer. Okay, so you read the introduction to the article, everything looks promising. You can treat this ovarian cancer with this type of chemotherapy. But then you start looking at the details. Okay, so we start thinking about the other terms that we've asked. Sample. The number of people that were sampled were 7.
That's a bit iffy.
Okay, but we have to start somewhere. Okay, so we start with 7. We have to start somewhere. Let's keep going down our list. So, how was this survey probably done?
Experiment.
An experiment, right? We're sort of manipulating to see the outcome. Who was sampled?
People who had cancer.
7 people. And those 7 people were all males.
Wait.
What's wrong about that?
They don't have ovaries.
Yes, they do not have ovaries, do they? Right? So, statement seems promising. Research seems promising. Sample, not good. Now, ladies, unfortunately, that's how medical treatment was done for us. And experiments were done within the last 100 years. Women were not involved, it was men. That's kind of problematic, right? But that's how it's been done. I didn't make the rules, we just followed them. So that's the type of thoughts that we want to be having as we're moving forward. How can we consider and look at all of these terms to see what else might be something we need to consider? Does that make sense? Did you have a question, Lily?
I was